This is episode 245 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. There are a lot of people out there talking about the infinite banking strategy and whether or not it makes sense for them. To find out what it's all about and if it's a fit for you, visit controlandcompound.com/Andrew Hines, where my audience can gain exclusive access to books, podcasts, and webinars tailor-made for real estate investors. Welcome back to the show. Today I have Ping Su on the show, and he is the business partner of Andrew Parashus, who was on the show last week. So these two are quite the dynamic duo. They are incredible entrepreneurs and people. And I really enjoyed talking to Ping in this episode, as I did with Andrew in the previous, because he's just so full of knowledge and insights. He talked a lot about business building, the processes that he does on a daily basis. He talked about his teams. He also gave an example of how they're partnering with their clients on the property management side. So if they have a client come to them who's in a position where they can't afford to carry the property through, say, a tenant that's not paying or what have you, they come up with a win-win strategy to partner with that owner who will remain on title until they can get the property back to a position where they can sell it on the market. So it's a brilliant play. It's a creative strategy, and that's what entrepreneurs do. When it comes to real estate, you've got to be thinking creatively. You've got to be thinking about how can I add value to people and solve problems. And that's exactly what Ping was illustrating with his example. And that's just one of the many things that he does. So we talked at depth about his businesses and also what his plans are going forward. I shared some of my thoughts on the performance of this podcast and how things have changed. The sentiment out there has changed. People used to be able to sign on to any deal and make money. They could do a BRRRR and spend way too much money, but be saved by the market. It seems that those days have changed. So I opened up a little bit in this episode too about some of the things I'm seeing, how it's affected the performance of this podcast. It hasn't grown this year like it did in the past. In fact, it's actually contracted a little bit. And I attribute that, and I don't know for a fact, but I attribute that to a sentiment in general about real estate investing in this higher interest rate climate and what's changed. I think that a lot of the people who were only on the sidelines have sort of stepped back. It's not as sexy as it used to be. So we got into that a little bit in this episode. And with that being said, I want to keep growing this podcast. So my request to you, if you're listening and you haven't already, could you please rate and review the podcast? That will help. Also, if you know somebody who's interested and you think this information could help them, please share this with them. Again, I want to get back on that trajectory of growing. And if you found value in this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you would help me do that. With that said, I want to remind you about the GTA West REI meetup. As I record this, I have one coming up this week, but please make sure that you're a part of the group that is in the link for this episode, and you can attend on a future event. And I'd love to meet you, hear your story, and you can, of course, meet other real estate investors that are actively doing stuff. And that's what it's all about. It's so important to have community and to have a great network when you're in this business, because that's how you can avoid inventing the wheel. You can talk to people who are doing things, get ideas, trade secrets. It's a very sharing community I've found in my experience. And that's my sales pitch for the completely free event. I highly recommend you take advantage of. So with that being said, let's jump into episode 245 with Ping Su. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have Ping Su on the show, and you had me on your show a little while back.
Yes.
With Andrew, who was just on the show last week's episode. So I'm glad we could put this all together in sequence.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Get to hear the other side of the story. So Andrew shared a bunch of kind of his backstory last week, and he went through his investing strategy, how he started. But we more focused on before you two worked together. So I'd love to hear kind of, your story leading up to that and then what you're doing now.
Oh, yeah. No, sounds good. So maybe I'll start with a bit about myself then.
Yeah, give me the backstory.
Yeah. So born and raised in Taiwan, moved to Canada basically back in like 2007, 2008. Okay. We were actually on the East Coast, PEI, Prince Edward Island.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, for a couple of years. And then I got applied to McMaster, got accepted. Mm-hmm. And that's actually when my real estate journey started. My mom, like right before we moved, my mom sat me down she wrote 20 on my notebook, and then she's like, Ping, you got 2 jobs that you need to accomplish in the next like 45 years. One is your engineering degree, which is what I got in for. The second one is like 20 tenants paying you rent.
20 tenants.
Yeah.
How did your mom have that planned for you?
Yeah, so she's been investing like back in Taiwan, right? Like growing up, like I think she got in also pretty early, like early 20s or something. So yeah, she's been educating herself on the investments and all that stuff. And that's really the reason why we're able to actually move to Canada, right? It's all the investment portfolio that she built back home. My dad was the same way, like a very investment driven type of person. So they wanted to kind of like give me that kind of skill set as I'm going through the formal education. But they did not want me to be a business guy or like be running a business. They just want me to be staying in an engineering firm, you know.
Okay, and having people pay you.
Exactly, because they feel like a business is just too much overhead, too much stress, and all that stuff. So my path was kind of like planned.
Yeah, they cut it all out for you.
Yeah, which
everything to do.
I don't know if I like that too much, but anyway, so first year when we first got our very first property, it was they supported me with that. 6 rooms, 7 rooms, 8 rooms, and 7 rooms. All of them were value add type of strategy. So by the time I finished school, 27 rooms, achieved my goal.
So
right?
they were sort of funding you to acquire them at that time?
Yeah,
that's great.
I didn't have any money, right? And
well, that makes sense. But you did have the market knowledge. You're able to see what was going on there.
Yeah, as I learned, the truth is I didn't know a lot, right? It was just the number made sense. The refi from Taiwan was like they're offering like 2 to 3% interest rate.
Right? So you're getting Taiwanese banks to lend?
Yeah.
On the Canadian real estate?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's essentially how we started, right? Because they got enough portfolio equity back home, and they were like, hey, here's what you can do, right?
Okay.
And use it as a learning opportunity for me to really get to know the real estate investing side, right? But just so you know, I never found that sexy or anything, because growing up, I remember like getting rid of junks, right? Whenever there's a tenancy turnover, painting the units, right? It was never, I never saw landlording being super sexy or anything. It's just like, okay, another thing I need to do.
Does anyone see landlording as sexy? I feel like they like the idea of cash flow.
Yeah. But
okay, I mean, I guess some people probably do think it's sexy somehow. It could be sexy if you're completely hands off, which I think in their head they think they can be, but
no, not yeah.
Generally not, especially early on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely not passive, right? But yeah, after 2015 though, I got a job. Didn't really like what I was doing. Like I saw how that environment, corporate world actually works, and I'm like, you know what, this is not really for me. So I wanted to really pivot. Like 2-3 months in, I wanted to pivot already. So from there, actually at the time I already met Andrew through my wife at the time was girlfriend. And we met, we talked about real estate. We're like, what can we do together, right? Outside the family portfolio. Andrew at the time had way more resources than I did, right? So he's already got a few like multifamily buildings, and he's running a construction company with his family. And then we're just chatting. We're like, okay, in order for me to quit my job, I need to figure out how to replace my income, right? Because even though I have 27 tenants paying me rent, after all the expense, it's only $1,500 per month.
Oh, okay.
They're all debt, right? They're all like the loan. There's an interest payment on top of each other, and I was so scared of using any of that because one roof repair, HVAC goes
you don't
up.
want to touch that. Not on that many properties.
Exactly, right? But it's a pivotal moment because now I need to figure out how to do more real estate outside of family, which my family at the time, well, even right now, doesn't want me to mix the personal with the business, right? Because now there's another party involved. So we were chatting. We did like we were trying to tax sale. We were doing flips and a couple flips, and then we got 2 more student rentals in St. Catharines. Just a good process until there's one deal. Was also a pivotal moment for both me and Andrew. That one deal was 18 rooms, one huge commercial on the main floor, a big lot, sitting on a big lot, and we got everything sorted, everything under contract. On the day of so offer was accepted, but on the day of the putting on a deposit, the investor backed out, and then we had nobody else to reach out to and say, hey, listen, like we need to close on this one, and yada yada yada. So we did have enough time to maybe find a different investor, but just us like being in the industry, we're like, you know what, we don't want to take that risk. So we exited that deal, and the next thing we're like, okay, we don't have enough investors on our database. So what do we need to do? one is to build out the investor list. Number two is replace my income so I can focus on this full time.
Yeah.
And then we chose we were looking around. We actually started a property management company, right?
That's a great way to build a network.
Yeah.
I said that to Andrew last time, or when he was on. That's such a good idea, and not a sexy one at all.
Oh, it's totally not a sexy one.
Very thankless job, I think, in general, but
exactly.
But great contacts, and you're right close to the deals. If people don't want to own something, hey, I can help you out.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, some people ask us about like our deal flow, right? A lot of them came from property management.
Yeah.
Right, because that's when landlords have problems, and they don't really reach out to property managers until they have a problem. Yeah. So every time a phone call comes in or email comes in, the very first thing we do is try to understand the situation, including their financial situation. Right, how much money can you actually pay to solve that problem? If you don't have a lot of money, boom, okay, maybe the next thing that we need to discuss is to either take over your property, like take over your ownership for discount price, or we can do a joint venture.
Right. So you do joint ventures with people, say just sell us half the equity or give us half the equity and we'll manage it. Yeah.
We call that Novation Agreement.
What is it called?
Novation.
Novation?
Yeah, it's a new term, I think, in the US right now. We didn't know that that's what we're doing, but we're just structuring the agreement with the current owner who ran out of funds, basically.
Yeah.
Right. And then we say, hey, listen, why don't we price it at X amount
today,
and then we'll inject the capital for your property. But the goal of this property is to actually sell it so that you and I, we can both cash out, move on to the next project.
Okay, so it's a short-term plan. They already own it. You pay the renovations to get it to where it needs to be to sell it.
Yeah.
And then sell it. Yeah. And these are rental properties always, or could they be homes as well?
No, mostly rental properties.
Just like multiplexes and stuff like that.
Yeah, or sometimes it could be a single family rental, right?
Which that could be turned over into a home or could be used as a home.
Yeah.
So like in one of those strategies, is that something that you guys would be evicting tenants, or not evicting, but trying to turn over units and all that kind of thing?
Usually when the clients come to us with that kind of problem is usually because they stop paying rent.
Okay, so you're working on getting the tenant out. Like helping them get through that hard period to get to the point of being able to sell. And then so the other tenants, if they're still paying, you leave them alone, replace the one that wasn't paying with a higher paying tenant, hopefully.
Exactly.
Or a paying tenant.
Yeah. Well, basically, it's a problem that we need to resolve. And then by resolving that issue, we earn the right to actually purchase their property or be part of the homeowner. And then we can either BRRRR that property or flip that property.
So give me an example of what a value might be. So somebody comes to you, is it a recent one like a duplex or a triplex?
Sure.
And it has like one tenant not paying, but the owner can't handle that.
Right. So let me give you an actual example there.
Sure.
Okay. So a client actually bought a townhouse in downtown Hamilton. I believe it was like 2013, 2014, I believe. Well, I think he bought it at about 340K. And then first year was okay. Second year was obviously things started falling through. Third year he approached us. Okay, I remember clearly that's 2017. 340K came to us with a problem. Right, there's a other problem because it's a row house altogether. So the sewer was backing up from a neighbor's house, and the neighbor is planning on selling that property. So long story short, he's coordinating between the neighbor and the tenants all of a sudden stop paying rent, and they just decide to live there rent-free, right? They're getting their waters and all that stuff. So he wasn't getting anything for almost like 6 to 8 months. And then he's like, okay, listen, like I'm actually a little stressed out because I already pulled my line of credit to create a bit of buffer, right? So now we're going into the eviction process, right? Because now it's like, now we need to get the citizens involved, right? There's kids in the house, by the way.
Cats?
Right? No, kids.
Kids, okay.
Kids, yeah. So long story short, we actually came to an agreement, do the cash flow keys, right? Get the tenants out.
To the non-paying tenant.
Non-paying tenants.
Yeah, so they did a cash flow keys.
Yeah.
I haven't heard too many people say that, but I mean, that would make sense. Hey, like, obviously this is going to come back to haunt you. You're going to you're going to go to collections down the road. It might not happen right away, but this is going to hurt you. Why don't we just work something out?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we did. And but then before we enter into the collaboration collaboration with the clients, we're like, okay, we want to have a right to actually help you get out of this, flip this property. So we're looking at the ARV was anywhere between like 450, 470 at the time. We're like, why don't we
just a single townhouse unit?
Yeah.
Okay, so 450, 475, and that you thought that's when it's done. If it's evicted, no renovations needed?
No, there's renovation needed.
So some renovations.
Some renovation, like 40K, right?
Okay.
touch up and all that stuff. So what we did is that we agreed on the original price as our buying price. So 340.
So what he paid? He paid
what
340.
He paid.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we say instead of us, so you get to, so basically everything we bought in was at 340. We're going to fund you the cash flow keys plus the renovation. So we ended up funding I think 60 or 70K in the whole process. And then after that, me being a listing agent, right, I also get a cut, or I can build in my service fee.
Portion of the fee, yeah.
Exactly. So I'm also going to be the listing agent to sell that property. So from there, I'm getting 50% of a profit plus the listing service for the company, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
So we structured this over and over again. It's extremely profitable.
470 you sold it for?
495.
495. Yeah. Okay. And then, so total commissions would be what, 5% on that? Or 4?
No, so 2.5%.
Yeah, but I mean, you're obviously getting paid. So did you double end it? The buyer came direct?
Oh, no.
No. So you did pay out 2.5 plus your side got some too.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. So assuming, generally speaking, people are paying their realtors what, between 4.5% and 5%, usually somewhere in that. Yeah. Combined. Okay. So you did that, taking that off. So what did you end up with on that deal? Like how much was left after say you took off like the 4.5%?
I believe it's like 20 to 25.
Somewhere in there?
Somewhere around plus the commission.
Plus your commission, yeah. Okay. So you guys were splitting basically 20. So you got 10 and then the other guy got 10?
No. So that's our portion.
Oh, you just keep it. So you agree to buy it from him, but he has to hold it until you guys can sell it.
No, sorry. I apologize. So
that was your portion. So
that's
40
my portion.
Was total.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That clarifies it. Okay, so 40 grand in profit, split two ways. So that's a big win-win. So the seller gets out of a jam, or the owner gets out of a jam. They don't have to do it. Did you manage everything for them?
Yeah.
Like, so they didn't really have to do anything at that point.
No.
You made sure that their mortgage payments wouldn't bounce. I guess.
Yeah.
You gave him enough money that he would be able to do that. Like, how did that work? Or he had enough to cover that.
So we cover half of that, basically. Like as soon as we enter into the agreement,
you start covering half the mortgage payment.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, that's just one of the examples, right? There's a lot of creative deals that we did within property management, and that's why a lot of people, like, I get asked a lot of time that, how come you guys are running a property management company? I'm like,
it's like lead gen. It's like sending out flyers.
Yeah,
probably better. I don't know. Like,
you're
gonna get a lot of especially because you know your niche with that. Like, you know how to approach those deals.
Yeah, and imagine the seller or owner who's going through that kind of problem, right? It really makes them question about the real estate investing. So now there's a couple clients that actually turn into our private lenders. I
feel like those people, you're gonna have their loyalty after that. Oh, these guys came in, they said they were gonna do it, they did it, and then they're doing other projects. They said, "Do you want to invest?" Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's brilliant. It's almost worth starting up a property management company for that.
I don't know about that. If we knew what we know now
about management,
we probably wouldn't start it, because there's also a story on how, so everything we do is pretty sequential. A lot of people are saying that, how come you're running many different things? Literally because it makes sense at the time, right? So when we're running property management, we had an idea of expanding our investor list, right? That's one thing. And second thing is that we need income, right? We need an income replacement for our job.
And that was the management side of things.
That was the management side of thing. And but 2017, all of a sudden we're like, we can start raising capital from the people that we're managing the properties for. Because who are you going to trust? Someone on the internet or someone who's taking over?
Yeah, they're already working with you. Yeah, you're already working together.
Yeah. And so we actually raised 100% capital for a sixplex, which was the very first sixplex that we got in back in 2017. And it was a value add strategies and all that. So that was interesting. And then 2018, we also started incorporating the self-service, because we're like, okay, so many people are in this industry right now, investing. And we literally took the total numbers of transactions that they do, divide by the total number of our clients. And some people are long-term, some people are short-term strategy, but on average, every investor is selling or buying a property every other year. So I'm like, now we have like 60 clients. That's equivalent to 30 sales that we're leaving on the table.
So, and this is before you got your real estate license that you were thinking that?
So in between, I was already thinking about that, but that idea was like, okay, we need to speed this up.
So you basically are soliciting your management clients for, hey, if you want to sell, I can actually list that on the market for you.
That's correct. Or if you want to buy or get into the multifamily space, let me
know. I'll help you.
Yeah, let me know. Let me help you offload a couple properties and
the interesting thing, like you could reach out to every one of these people directly, learn their situation, and say, hey, do you want more of this type of building? Like, what are your goals? Like, learn and understand that. Like, these are people who you actively have a reason to talk to on a regular basis anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a problem though.
Yeah.
When I started doing that, the credibility wasn't there. Right, because people want to talk about small repair bills, financials, and all that stuff. So at some point, we had to start separating the management, like detaching myself from the management operation completely.
Yeah.
So the moment that people talk to me about the small bills, I can just deflect that to, for example, the operation manager.
Yeah, we'll have our operations manager, but I want to talk to you about this today.
Exactly.
Yeah, you stay focused on the big stuff.
Yeah,
which I think that adds credibility to you. Like you've built an organization. Like, because if you're spending all your time with the small stuff, you
can't.
You're not really able to service them at a higher level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so a lot of pivotal moment for us, and I think a lot of things that we focus on is how to capitalize on the business opportunities over just the investment. Because a lot of people are talking about real estate investing is long-term play and all that stuff. I get it, but at the same time, we all have bills to pay. We all have a certain lifestyle that we want to sustain, right? So how do you manage both in this industry alone?
Yeah, well, that's the concept of short money, medium money, long money. Like you need your short-term money, and that's your short-term money. You replaced your job, then your medium and long. You have a various different real estate projects you're doing, plus your long-term holdings.
That's correct. Yeah.
So you got all those boxes ticked, and I like how you have, you've built in future income for just clients doing new business with you, buying other things from you, doing transactions with you, maybe selling you their property. It's like a business that feeds itself.
Yeah, that's why we, even up until this point, is as much as we don't like the property management division, it's such a strong lead generation, and it fits it actually pays off all the bills, right?
It's a necessary evil. Well, is it like, are you guys 8% plus leasing fees? Is that pretty standard?
We do flat fee.
Flat fee? Oh, okay.
Because the software that we're using, like the moment that we need to do percentage, now we have to add entry, right? Like we have to do manual entry for HST and all that stuff. So we're like, just do flat fee.
You just do flat fees. So you have like a set number for a house or an apartment.
Yeah, roughly, honestly, 67% is what we're charging. But I also want to be clear that we're not accepting any more management clients. We just want to service our own current client base, and then develop our new business model.
And how many clients do you have? Like
130.
130. That's more than enough to like feed you for business.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Especially if you get them referring people that are selling as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. People who are working with us already, if they want to expand their portfolio, we're not going to say no. If they have great friends, like close friends that need some help, and then we're assessing the portfolio, we're like, okay, it's worth to take on, we'll do it. But any other people that come in, usually we either refer out or we try to understand the situation, see if we can take on the project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what's your methodology when these clients approach you? Like I know you said you worked out that you were going to just pay the investor what they had paid for the house on that first example.
Yeah.
Were you working backwards for a desired level of profit?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Everything's backwards, right?
So you just figured we need to make 40 grand on this minimum.
Yeah.
So if we're going to do that, we're going to pay you whatever.
Yeah. So there's a minimum profit that we always look at. To be honest, right now, all the flips that we're doing, anything under 4 units, it has to be a minimum of 50K, right?
50K profit minimum.
Exactly. Yeah. Because if there's a market fluctuation, right? Obviously,
it could eat up your profit.
Exactly.
Yeah,
easily. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi friends, I just wanted to take a moment away from the episode to tell you about my brand new structured coaching program. This is the first time I've ever offered a structured coaching program where we'll have regular meetings in addition to an intro call to go through what your goals are and help you get on a plan to achieve those goals within real estate. So if you've followed me for some time and you feel that I would be a fit for you to help you achieve your goals in real estate based on my skill set, based on the topics we cover on this show, I encourage you to head over to my website, andrew-hines.com/coaching, and fill out the questionnaire so that we can schedule a call and figure out if it's a fit for us to work together. Let's face it, most people could benefit from a second set of eyes and ears going over their strategies, different deals that they're looking at, and helping to springboard ideas back and forth. This is a program that's exactly for that. So if you're looking to build confidence in what you're doing in real estate investing and get very clear on what it is you're trying to accomplish, this might just be the program for you. Take a moment, fill out that questionnaire, and let's schedule a chat. Yeah, this is something that I look at on my new builds in Florida. Like the numbers used to look better, and now it's gotten tight because the values obviously came down a bit, but then construction costs have come up, and I'm basically holding off on pulling the trigger on any new ones because it would make more sense to just sell the lots as they are, the ones I have left, rather than go into something that looks like it'd make 15, 20 grand. Like that's, to me, that's too small because all it takes is a swing or some construction costs go up and then profit's gone.
Exactly.
So why go through 8 months of that?
Oh yeah, it's
just liquidate
work.
it. I'd rather lose a little bit and liquidate right away. It's just easier. So that's kind of where I'm thinking with that. So we were talking offline about some other stuff that I'm working on right now. But I mean, I'm big on money needs to work in its most efficient place. So if it can perform better in another investment, that's where I want to put it.
Yeah.
Rather than, sort of cry over spilled milk. But in your case, you're just probably from experience, the swings and what they can do. And if you have a bad swing, you've probably had projects that didn't profit because you guys were too marginal.
For example, 2017, right?
Yeah.
2017 was the very first time I experienced that. When the moment that they changed the foreign tax law or rule, it really, like, I think it put a pause on the market for almost like 14 months. We had one project that was going on and we were like, we can't cash out, right? So that was my very first taste of a real estate market can shift very quickly. And you need to make a business decision on whether or not you want to just take a loss, move on, recoup some of your capital back and just move on to the next opportunity, or you're holding it, right? Yeah. But the truth is that as long as we can hold it long enough without feeling too stressed out, the market will bail you out over time.
Yeah, time seems to cure all wounds with real estate, but it's just how much time. In some cases, it's taken a lot of time.
Yeah,
I like that happened to you in such a mild way. Like, you came out of it okay, right?
Yeah, 2017 was okay. Even right now, I think we're getting out of it okay.
On some of the ones that you were holding the bag on here.
Yeah, we did take a loss on one project, 130K loss in Brantford. It hurts, don't get me wrong, but the amount of profit that we were doing prior to that was okay too.
Yeah, it offsets it. So still a profitable year for you.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say too profitable. It's just we gotta keep up the momentum, right? And then we need to always have enough cash reserve in the bank account so that when the next opportunity comes, like, we can capitalize on it. Yeah,
and I think it's important for people to reflect on the fact that there's a built-in risk to any type of investment, and that's a big part of the reason why you're compensated and why you need to be compensated to do it, because you could win really big on a whole bunch of deals and then you take a loss, which is why you need to win big on the other ones. So you can afford to.
I really love what Luke was telling us on our podcast. That was like I think 3 months ago. He was saying that investing is a probability game. Right, so sometimes you might be buying a property and then you flip it, you're like making some good profit, but you made a wrong business decision. Right.
Just like at the casino, it's the opposite of the casino, right? The odds are against you at the casino. In real estate, if you're doing it right, they should be with you.
Exactly. Yeah. So as long as we have a right expectation that not all the deals are going to be profitable, like, we just need to get better at making those investment decisions every single time. And once in a while, if it's not good, just learn from it, move on, because the momentum, speed of implementation, I think it's more important in business than anything.
Yeah, that was Luke Byrne?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't talked to him in a long time. Is he still wholesaling?
I think so. He actually adapted his strategy into flipping more.
So more flipping.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of buyers at this moment, right?
Yeah, wholesaling seems to have gone quite quiet.
Exactly.
But do you guys wholesale any of the stuff you find?
More wholesaling, I'll be honest.
Wholesale, meaning that you're just posting it for sale? Like on the market?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Clean up, just list it back on the market, get a maximum exposure, and just get people to pick up.
I mean, at the end of the day, you guys can still probably find some killer deals right now, right? Like, especially because sellers don't have this false sense of confidence about their sale prices anymore. I don't think.
No, not anymore.
No, their expectations have come back down to earth, right?
Yeah.
So you have the ability to be a little bit more aggressive on the negotiations again, probably.
For sure. Usually we're negotiating on the timeline, right? Like, what do you need to sell, right? Yeah. There's a level of motivation and desperation for every single seller. Some people are testing the water, but there's a reason why they list it for sale right now.
Yeah.
There's a reason, right? So just depending on how long or how short the timeline is, that's going to kind of allow us to understand how much we can negotiate.
Yeah. So are you sending out flyers? I think Andrew had said that you are. So you
Yeah.
still have that on autopilot?
Not on autopilot. We actually put a pause on that, and then we switch our strategy into door hangers instead of the
Door hangers, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
Because those flyers are super overdone at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But door hangers is like you're putting it on other people's door, right? You need to grab
So are you
it.
paying somebody to go out and do this? Because the mail service won't do it.
Exactly. So there's one company in Toronto. They do that.
Oh, okay. I looked into doing that. I actually bought the hangers, and then we paid somebody to put them out, and I'm pretty sure they just threw them in a dumpster. They're like, yeah, we'll do it.
Oh, they took picture, but they only took maybe like 20-30 photos, right? So maybe part of that is still
totally possible. No, I'm pretty sure like these ones did not take a picture, nor did ever contact us again after they took our money. I'm pretty sure they literally did just throw them in a dumpster.
Possibly that, and maybe that's why we're not getting enough leads.
You don't find you're getting that many out of them?
No, not enough.
I feel like the sentiment's changed this year, and I don't know if you guys have seen it too. But this podcast, the audience grew like 35% a year, pretty much, like consistently up until this year.
Oh wow!
This year I found is different, and I don't know if it's just there's more content out there, or if I feel like my gut feeling is that the sentiment about real estate investing has changed to a degree.
Maybe, yeah, because the people are a lot more fearful.
They're fearful, like the sexiness of real estate investing has gone away to a degree. Not to the really serious people who, and I don't think it was ever sexy to the really serious people. They just realized that it worked. But a lot of the sideline viewers and listeners, I don't think that they see the easy way in anymore. Because it used to be you could just basically buy anything and it goes up in value, and you win, right?
For sure.
Those days are not here anymore. Like, yeah, they might go up a bit, but you have to focus on making the deal, and that's work. So that makes it less sexy.
Exactly.
That's my take. I don't know. Like, I don't know the real reason, but I've noticed that the listenership is down actually a little bit. Viewership is, I mean, YouTube was never super productive. It was always the other platforms. Have you noticed that with your platform at all?
We're pushing hard on YouTube because we're producing a lot of short form content, right?
Yeah, so you've scaled up your offerings, and I have. Like, that's the other thing is like we do a lot of short form content. We're putting a lot more into it. I think it's more sentiment than anything.
I believe so actually, because more and more people, obviously, even raising capital is a lot more challenging compared to before, right? When things are
fearful, right? Yeah. People are fearful, and there's this, obviously you've heard to be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. Yeah. This is a time of opportunity, which you're actually still seeing because you're doing it, but you're obviously having to work a little harder to do all those things. Yeah.
So our next pivotal moment is definitely going to be in the States. So because our strategy has adapted into, we're holding the commercial properties that we feel like it's going to be in good condition, good location. The appreciation, the room for appreciation is going to be pretty decent over the next maybe 2 to 5 years. Like those properties we're still holding. And I think if we want to get into any property, it's going to be that type of asset class. We don't want to be touching anything under 4 units anymore. And I'm talking about in terms of the buy and hold, right?
Yeah. You'll still flip whatever.
Yeah, I want to, because right now that's one thing. The second thing is that I don't want to be relying on my return on whether or not tenant is going to be paying rent. Because landlord-tenant board right now to me is a very risky component to a lot of investors.
It is like... I put it in two sort of sides of the equation, because on one hand, if you're just like a good, respectful landlord who prepares, it shouldn't break your business. But if your business model is dealing with that type of tenant that's very likely to not pay, that's kind of worse. Like if you're a pure student rental investor who's got like parental guarantees across 6 students or whatever, not very likely that you're not going to get paid. Right. But yeah, I guess if you guys are investing in Hamilton multiplexes, you probably have a good number of people who do that on the regular. Yeah, like I feel like that running a property management business allowed us to see the dark side of people, right? People who are really trying to like play the game, and even like there's one high-end rental that we're talking about. Like people, like we actually almost got a professional tenants in there. Oh, they were so smooth with their application and this and that, but the moment that we caught them right before they need to move in, it's a because they actually had a truck booked ready a day before. Yeah. And they tried to like push themselves in. And that's when we're like, okay, listen, something's off. Right. Because they were trying to push themselves in a day early. Yeah. It's just weird. What about that? Like seemed weird to you?
Because we agreed on timeline. You showed up a day before. You
Okay, so
coded.
they seemed like they weren't honoring their word. They
Exactly.
were okay. So
Yeah.
it was already settled. Did you look them up on like Canly to see if they had like a court case in the past?
No, because I wasn't actually part of the property management divisions anymore. I haven't been. I'm so detached from the property management side since like
Yeah.
2019.
Oh, okay. So you
Yeah.
just found out about
I
this.
just heard about this from my leasing
Yeah.
manager, and leasing manager was like finding it a little weird, and then she
Yeah.
talked to our like
Yeah.
operation manager, and then we're doing
Yeah.
some like Google search or whatever, and then we're like, okay, we need to stop,
Yeah.
right?
Have you ever done that, the Canly lookup? I've looked to
never
find
done
a tenant's name. I couldn't because I had tenants who stiffed me for some money, and I tried to find them, but
Mhm.
no, they didn't have anything there. But I've heard Kayla Andrade mention, I believe it was her, that you can actually look them up, and if they were ever evicted and involved in an eviction, they should show up there
Nice.
if it went that far, right? But it
Right.
wouldn't give you anything if you didn't get that far. But
I
since
see.
we're on the topic, how do you prevent against that? Like, what does your team do to prevent those situations from happening?
Yeah, so there's a multiple screening process. I'll be honest with you, I haven't done this part for a long time. So
Yeah, so they run that.
they run like they run that, and usually I kind of my meeting is really with the account manager, right?
Yeah.
My finance manager, and she let me know about the P&L for the property management division, the vendor P&L. That's super important for property management business. And but yeah, usually if the number is off or something's a little off, then I talk to the operational manager, right? Usually things gets escalated to Andrew actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andrew is kind of like the head of that division plus the project management.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm more focused on the sales and the investment in property hustlers, the growth of property hustlers at this moment.
And Property Hustlers being the brand of media, like the media brand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are doing a great job, by the way. Your
Thank you.
content's good. I can tell you put a lot of effort into it.
Oh man, learning curve is high.
Yeah.
Yeah, learning curve.
And you
is
guys
very
kind of
high.
came out of nowhere. I was not aware of you, and then I saw you. I know you reached out to me. I looked back on our old texts, and yeah, like just out of nowhere, you guys were throwing out some awesome content, and I'm like, who are these guys? I got to get them on the podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that was cool to see. Your organization, like how many people are in it, and like what's the general structure?
Okay, so we overscaled two components of our business. One is for property management, and the other one is realty. And then, but yeah, about 3-4 months ago, we finally cut it down to actually 8 full-time employees only, with obviously some part-timers, vendors, and all that. But now we're back to 12.
12. Okay.
Yeah.
And that handles. So on your real estate side, is this something that's sort of part of the group with Andrew? Like that's all sort of part of the same operation?
Yeah, so we have a referral structure, obviously. Anything that comes from property management comes in, there's a cut for that, pretty high percentage cut. Anything else that agents does, then there's a different split. Yeah.
Where's what brokerage are you with?
EXP.
EXP?
Yeah.
Is that the one where you get like a percentage of everyone who comes in under you?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a tough business. I actually try to see if I can explore that options a little bit. At the time, I had 9 agents under me.
Yeah.
Oh my god, so much work.
Yeah.
So much work. So much babysitting.
I think there is a guy. I've heard of people who like their whole business is just bringing people in for that
It's
one.
not profitable.
Yeah, I bet you it would be very hard to do. Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, I think Keller Williams is another one that gives you a piece.
Something like that, yeah.
I've heard that. I don't know. I'm just keep my ear to the ground with this. Because obviously Keller Williams is a big one that a lot of investors are with.
For sure.
For whatever reason. I think Gary Keller is a big inspiration with that just because he has his books and stuff. So makes sense. Not to go on a tangent. So tell me, I mean, if somebody were to ask you high level, like, what do you do? How would you answer them?
Great question. I usually just say that I'm a realtor, right? To keep things like if I'm just meeting anybody or touching base with friends, right? Hey, how are things? Hey, not bad, right? What do you do now? I'm a realtor.
It's a great way to shut down a conversation.
You know what? It's just so much easier because I try multiple different things. I talk about real estate, being a real estate investor. Most people don't actually understand that, and most people will be like, "Oh, cool."
Really? And you don't get how do you do that?
Not as much.
Yeah, you could say, my buddy told me this one. I thought it was great because however you answer the question of what do you do, will either get you a response or get you a question or shut down the conversation.
Yeah.
So if he would say, "Oh, I help people earn a return in real estate investing," without doing anything, or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. And then, oh, how do you do that? And then, oh, great question.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about it.
Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
I say realtor because usually people will respond with, oh, how's the market right now?
Oh, okay. So it's
Then
actually very relevant right now.
yeah,
They're gonna ask.
yeah. So based on that question, I can, depending on
Yeah.
what they need,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
discuss whatever they want to discuss.
And are you trying to build that business? Like, is that something you're just happy, like, for whatever comes? Like, do you aggressively try and build it, or you're just good with whatever comes through your existing operations?
I did that for a couple of years and then failed miserably. I want to say that because, man, the amount of working attention is so heavy compared to any other business, right? So I'm like, I can focus on. So I actually came to a theory, basically like how to run this business, right? So people who are dealing with a resale, people who are dealing with let's say pre-construction, right? Investor in residential, investors in commercial, and people who are working with the developers, right? You can literally scale up that business in every single segment, right? But in order for us to be building up a big team, you need to be focusing on the resale and pre-con a little bit. And right now the market in pre-con is not that great, right? They're not building quick enough, right?
They're not building quick enough. And like, on that topic, do you think the numbers are working right now? Because the pre-construction numbers, as far as I know, have gone up. So the prices to buy have gone up. So you're sort of like buying, it seems like you're buying over market value right now.
All the time, yeah.
And people are still doing that.
Because people who are buying it are usually falling into two categories. One is that they don't have enough saving to put down like 5 or even up to 20% of down payment. Second one is that their credit is not that great yet.
So they can get in now and work on their credit in the meantime. But that's not going to move as many units in
probably
general.
not. No, probably not.
So for the average person, do you think that that makes sense for them to do, to buy into pre-construction?
No.
I mean, they're kind of banking on things going up. Like, they have to go up for it to make sense, I guess. Like, that's my interpretation of it. I don't see how it makes sense otherwise.
I would never recommend anybody to do pre-con because like you have zero control over the product. You have zero control over the timeline, right? So you're buying it solely for a speculation.
It is speculative, right? But I know people who, like, that's their like claim to fame. That's how they made it, right? And but to your point earlier, it doesn't mean that was the right move. Just because it worked doesn't mean that was the right move. And I'm not taking a hard position on this. I like to get opinions on this, especially from people who are in the real estate, working as realtors and investors alike. Like, because I do have other people reaching out. I said I was gonna actually host just a live session where I just wanted people to debate each other. Does pre-construction work now?
That would be nice, man. That would be nice.
Yeah. So I had a bunch of takers on that. I just haven't organized it yet. So it would be a good conversation to hear, because I want to hear a compelling argument for why it works. So far, I haven't.
Yeah, no, I feel like people were just getting very lucky and a little cocky in the past 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Like, even people who are super big on BRRRR method only, right?
Yeah.
You can't BRRRR anything right now, right? Like, stop.
Yeah.
So
two things that went away is wholesaling and BRRRRing, and largely seem to have gone away. A lot of crickets, which, I mean, all the BRRRR stories were sexy and had everybody wanting to look up real estate podcasts. So, most of the conversations I have now is how people have transitioned or traveled further away to get investments. And there are still success stories happening right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
So you're talking about going to the States, and what was on your mind? Because I talked to Andrew about this a little bit, even off camera, and he said you guys wanted to kind of get the operations here stabilized. Yeah. So that you could shift your focus.
Oh, for sure. So number one thing is that that's a shiny object to us, because there's no horizontal or vertical integration to our existing business, right?
Yeah,
like,
and you have a very integrated business.
Oh yeah, from PM to sales, and even within PM, we had a sales team to get business, right? Like project management, right? So there's multiple different components in the property management business. But outside of that is sales, and then after that is investing, raising capital from our. So everything's all kind of integrated all together. So the moment that we need to step into a different market, now we need to look at our opportunity cost, basically, right? And then how much more capital do we need to prepare to make sure that we can run that operation until it actually work. So right now, honestly, we're leaning more towards just partnering up with other people's project, right? Get that, like, instead of us trying to get 1 or 2 projects, smaller project, why not just partner up with something, for example, like if your project is allowing any other investors to come in and to really educate, like allow the opportunity for the investors to educate themselves on your projects, we'll be more than happy to actually discuss that opportunity. Some people are kind of really big on the multifamily in Texas. I'm actually in touch with a couple of groups. I can't name them yet, but just kind of like discuss what would look like if we, kind of leverage our platform, get more investors into the project, and then we can earn our piece into as part of a GP.
Okay, so this is like a strategy of how you would get into some US.
That's what I'm thinking, because I want to keep it as passive as possible, right? That's not the
So
market.
You wouldn't be
I'm
going active in US. It would be more of a passive strategy.
Not at this moment, because right now I got
a lot going on here. Yeah.
Not just that, it's also family, right?
That is well, yeah. You don't necessarily, but investing in the US doesn't mean living in Canada.
Yeah, I'm just I have a limiting belief, by the way. Like I have a limiting belief on buying something smaller, because a lot of people are saying that you can buy a piece of real estate in the US, kind of like a similar concept of buying a stock. You wouldn't need to go there and look at the property or meeting the team. Like you wouldn't try to meet the CEO of Facebook, of Amazon, or whatever, right? But my concern here is that the operator in a public trading company, they're all super qualified.
Yeah.
Right. The requirement to get into that position is much, much higher. Whereas property manager, realtor, home inspector, the entry level is low, right? So if I only have a duplex or single family rental down the states, let's say in tenancy or whatever, if I have someone operating there and I see them being a little, like not being very honest, right? How do I actually pull them? How do I replace them? There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, for sure.
In my mind, I don't know how to solve.
Yeah, right? I hear you, and that's something I thought about a lot too.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, I've never been one to like just trust my team. Actually, I was early on, and that got me burned. So
the project, the first
US
stuff,
project. Yeah, I got burned real bad. So you talked about seeing the ugly side of people. I saw like somebody who would steal from me and then act like a victim, like almost blame me. Like, and it was just like the most wild thing, the level of dishonesty and just lack of integrity that I saw. And I realized, a truth that had been told to me, but it became like core knowledge, was that, especially in the US, but like there's a million people out there that would happily, rob you blind, take everything from you, and wouldn't bat an eyelash, would not care. So that's why I determined that trust needed to be earned, and I would never put myself in a situation where somebody else had the upper hand on me. And if I find myself there unintentionally, I'll back myself out of it, or I'll find a way to get out of that. And I've given this advice to anybody who's asked me, I'm going to hire a contractor, and I pretty much universally hear back from them after they give a deposit, and I told them not to, that it went really badly and things are going slow. And it's all about leverage and who holds the power. So when you talk about, investing in the States and not needing to, be there and see things, like trusting others, it has to be done super, super diligently.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And the biggest thing is I look for people with something to lose. I know you've probably heard me say that. But so going to the meetups, I find it's a great way to get you kind of enter that universe of everybody knows everybody. So if somebody's going to do something offside, it's going to get out that they did it. Yeah, that's a great place to start. Doesn't mean that's where you stop, but that's like, to me, that's a starting place. Yeah. So like that gave me some comfort to invest in Southwest Florida and feel like I had good boots on the ground that weren't going to just do funny things, because it would come back to them.
Yeah. You can hurt their reputation, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All I have to do is say, this person did this. Hey, did you hear? Actually, I did have one lender from that meetup that just totally jerked me around, so to speak. And it was very, very unprofessional. So I tried to politely reach out to them and say, hey, this really went badly. Are you guys going to do anything to make this right? And they offered me like a credit against my next deal. I'm like, God. Yeah, I'm not doing another deal with you.
Yeah, no, for sure. The trust is like, trust needs to be earned, basically. Yeah. You didn't earn it. So, but I mean, hey, nothing's perfect, right? So it's just kind of putting it together. But I look at like a guy like Karsten Howe, who he's investing in 5 different US cities right now that he's never been to them. He's got an arbitrage portfolio of something like 80 plus in the US. Having not been to these cities, I'm like, wow, the level of coordination, double checks to like make sure that you've got, backups to your plan.
is huge, but he's also not exposed in any one area too much, right? Like he's finding ways to hire people who he uses an app called Thumbtack, which has a rating system, so you can find contractors, cleaning ladies, and what have you that are rated, so they have something to lose if they do a bad job, because you can share your story and say,
I see.
they stole my stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
So there are ways to do it, but it all seems like work. To your point, it all seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, there's one thing that I look at it a lot lately is the management debt. How much more energy and even structure that you need to put into manage your whole team. If that management debt is too high, it will come back to you at some point. So investing remotely, unless the reward is big enough, I've been very hesitant to actually try to do
management debt. So you're saying the people that you employ to manage things will eventually not want to do it anymore if you put too much on them?
No. So management debt what I really mean is that, for example, if I need to spend hours of time,
so you're talking about your time,
my time, and even like my manager's time too, right? My operation manager, like if he is focusing too much time on solving the ground level people's or people who are at the front line, if he's spending way too much time, that means that something's wrong. It's either the people's wrong or the SOP is incorrect, right? So we have to find out which one it is, right? And then we need to keep improving and optimizing it, right? Because if I cannot pull my operation manager's time back, and he won't be able to support these people,
right. So you can't structure something so that you're just adding on a new task that you can never reduce the scope of, like, and that's where I look for systems. And I was talking to you before about doing CRMs and project management software, things like that. Like I think that's kind of the way, if you're going to do a strategy down there, that you have to have something, and anywhere, like you've got to have those systems in place.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I'm working on right now, is rolling out a strategy where my assistant can do a bunch of the stuff that I would normally do, and then we'll use systems for the rest, and then we'll bring in employees as profit
for sure
justifies.
Yeah.
So like but I agree with you. I don't want to do anything that's going to in perpetuity require my time. Like we can't do that, because I already have enough things to do that. For instance, this podcast, like I have to be here for this. Like there's no replacing it. I'm in the name of the show. So you can replace yourself. Property Hustlers is a brand you can build.
By the way, that was the reason why we decided not go with a personal name.
Not put your names in.
Yeah, because now Andrew can show up, I can show up. Maybe at some point there's going to be other people that can show up. But for podcasts, I noticed that it's a very networking. I guess there's a huge components for networking as well. Yeah. So I wouldn't want to actually pass out to other people either.
Yeah, no, of course. Well, that's the counter argument to your point, and you have a valid one. But there's pros and cons to that. I looked at it and I thought, if I want people to pick up the phone when I call, read the email when I email, I want my name on it. And it was basically a calling card, business card, to add credibility, just like being on TV does for people. And I've told the story before, but it was based on what Kevin O'Leary told me at a conference I went to, because he graduated from Ivy. So I went to like a school sponsored event and I got to like talk to him. And he said that he would always be on TV because no matter where he went, no matter who he called, people would always take his call or see him, because he was that guy that was on TV.
Nice.
So I thought, hey, podcast does the same thing. That's a big part of why I started it back when. Plus, I don't, obviously mind talking about real estate, and I like networking. And but it's, for me, I've never been, I guess I feel a little bit reserved. So it was like a lot easier to be able to just host an event and have people come talk to me. I didn't need to go be that shy, awkward guy that didn't know anybody, trying to edge my way into conversations, which I never liked doing. And all of a sudden people just knew who I was, and they came up to me and said, hey, I was listening to your show. It's a great icebreaker.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. For sure. No, I love it. I think honestly there's that part is something that we started paying a little bit more attention to. I think when we first started thinking about Property Hustlers, is the influence that we can have, right? Yeah. Because I do actually see that as being part of the network. Net worth, right? Like people talk about network, right? Yeah. I also see influence. I see that your skill, right? Yeah. Those type of, there's multiple different things that contribute to our own net worth.
And I think that the thing with the content is it has to be done with some sort of a strategy to monetize it, because it won't monetize itself, obviously.
No.
I mean, to date, like I've had some advertisements on the show, and I've had yeah, you know, some coaching revenue and what have you. But the biggest thing is the people who I can call up
Yeah,
and learn
that's
from
awesome.
and talk to, and I like that's like it connected us ultimately, and how many other people I could say the same thing. Like anyone who I feel like I should know in this area, I've had at least the opportunity to, you know, somebody knows somebody who, you know, I'm not saying I've talked to everybody, I sure haven't, but it's been a great foot in the door.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, influence is there. So it's like, what are you gonna do? And you know, I've always taken it very seriously. Like I never wanted to bring on a sponsor or any sort of offering on the show that I didn't feel like 100% like resonated with what I thought was true, right? So
Right.
I could just sell advertising space to anybody, but what if I don't agree with their product? So I'm not going to do that. So I've been very slow to do any of that. It took me like 4 years to bring on the first one, but trying to make up for that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I've been listening to a lot of your shows
Yeah. From
Yeah,
way
it's
back or?
from way back. Yeah.
Okay.
It's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And that's the cool thing. Like you come on the show, like there's already a little bit of background there. You already know my story, and
Yeah,
you know, it makes it so cool to network with people.
for sure.
And now you guys are going to come to the golf tournament next year.
Hey, I'm there. I'm there. Yeah, we're not very good. We're
Yeah.
like super immature, but honestly, yeah, golfing is pretty fun.
Yeah, it's actually funny. Like we have a number of people who come who don't golf, so they just actually will just ride in the cart, maybe take a shot or two, and then just sit back in the cart the rest
That's
of
funny.
the day.
That's funny.
Just want to hang out, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you. So we talked about some systems you use offline. What are some things that you've implemented in your business, technology wise or otherwise, that have allowed you to sort of buy your time back so you can focus on growth, you can focus on the next move?
Okay, so number one, there's no system that fit into all business, right? So I had so currently we use Buildium for property management.
Okay, Buildium, yeah.
Yeah, to use to keep track of a rent roll, owner draw, owner contributions, and all that stuff. So that's for property management. For the sales, we use Follow Our Boss,
Okay.
right? But I'm actually transitioning that out because I just feel like there's too much friction for me for me and my team, and we're a small team, right? We don't need that many I guess technology in our current procedure, right?
Yeah.
And then for our coaching, our mentorship, like we actually use a Go High Level.
Okay.
Yeah, so that one keep track of all the DMs, all the messages, emails, and all that stuff. So
that's like a CRM to capture
Yeah.
leads. Okay.
yeah, these are kind of like a CRM for each
Yeah.
organization, and then on top of that, we use QuickBooks to keep track of
Yeah.
everything,
For sure.
right? There's many different software that I can talk about. Lucy Chart to keep track of all the SOP, right? People, if anybody has any questions about a position, a responsibility, how each process works, they go into Lucy Chart. They can click through different things. I myself use a mind mapping tool. It's called Xmind. It's free. It just offload a lot of my ideas into my laptop. Yeah, because sometimes when you have too many things you can process, I just like to keep dumping it.
So anything that you're thinking, that's kind of like journaling, but onto a laptop.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that I can see basically.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it organizes it for you?
No, it doesn't. Like the things that I need to use usually is a Google Calendar, Google Tasks, and those are enough. But yeah, I have tons of smaller ones, and we build out a lot of spreadsheet too, because like I mentioned, like trying to fit everything into one software, it becomes like too much work. We use Notion. Sometimes when we need to script the videos and all that stuff, our sales script, right? We put everything in there so that people can click in. We used to do Monday.com, but Monday.com, like to us, is also not too easy to use.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've tried a lot of different stuff.
Oh, tons. Well, I spend so much
Yeah.
time on this system stuff.
I find it like anytime you're going to bring this stuff into your operation, it's just like I hesitate on this stuff. I'm like, do I want to spend another $300 a month on this? Or,
Oh yeah, no, they're
or whatever.
expensive.
They're expensive, and will we use it? Because I've had plenty of stuff I paid for, we just didn't use it, so I ended up canceling it.
Me too.
And
And some of them I didn't cancel until 6 months later.
sometimes you waste a few months in there.
Yeah.
So
You're the first one who asked me that question, by the way. Software.
about the CRM, yeah.
Well,
I'm trying to be more strategic if I'm planning, because some people say I'll try something out. I'll just try it out. I'm working on something where I'm not planning on trying it. I'm just going to do it. So I want to do it right. Like,
Yeah.
try implies that you can fail. That is an option. Do implies that even if you have hiccups, you'll still do it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really does, right? So try is something we should probably eliminate.
Oh no, try, should, right? And those type of like a
Yeah.
maybe type of word, like, no, you do it.
Yeah, we
Right.
do it, right? Do you take what you're doing seriously?
Mm-hmm.
And do you believe what you're doing will work? And if you're still saying try, then you don't.
Yeah.
So work on that.
Exactly. And I think too many people got caught on details, right? They were like, if I do this, this might happen or whatever.
Mhm.
And then what happened? Like, I haven't figured out these small pieces. I always tell people just focus on directional
Mhm.
decision, right? If it's 70% directional correct, just go for it.
70? Okay, I say 80, but yeah. 70 is pretty close to 80. I agree with you. I think that also don't be afraid to spend. If somebody's offering mentorship and you know they're doing what you want to do, then why would you be afraid of spending the money on that? I think that
Right.
that makes sense. So look for people doing what it is that you want to do, and it's working for them today. Hit them up.
Shorten the learning curve.
Yeah, you can
Right.
shorten the learning curve, because inventing the wheel is something I just don't want to do. Like, I've done it so much in my life. I there's somebody else who's already done something. Why do I want to go figure that out? I'm just trying to eliminate, because that's an old habit of mine. I just everything I can to just eliminate that. Okay, so
Yeah.
surely somebody knows this. Who can we ask?
Mm-hmm.
Because the who not how
Who
thing.
know
right?
how? Yeah.
I'm
Love it.
always doing that, because like we're
Mhm.
talking a lot about equity raise right now, and next steps, and structured GPLPs, and full disclosure, I've never done that. So I've raised money other ways, but so we sat down with somebody who does that a lot, and all these questions got answered, and
That's it.
that's the way to do it. So
Yeah.
there's always a way to your point, like to get to that 70% of knowing or 80% of knowing, so that you feel like you're ready to act. Never wait till 100, in my opinion. That's just my opinion.
You can't even get to 100%
Is it
without
possible
doing
to
it.
get to 100? You have to
No.
do first. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if you're super risk averse, you're going to wait till 100 and never do anything. And that's okay too, if that's okay with you.
Then why not
Yeah.
save on the mental energy and just not even think about it?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Just focus on your day job.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or other things you can do without taking whatever that perceived risk is. So,
Yeah.
Do you have any, general insights you wanted to go over today that we didn't?
You know what? I think it's very difficult to cover everything in 1 hour.
Super. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's-
just want to have a good conversation, and
Yeah.
we'll have you back.
Yeah. So like the investment side, honestly, I'll just make sure that you're not sticking to one thing only, right?
Yeah.
There's no one strategy that fits into all the real estate cycle. Like I couldn't even BRRRR anything between 2010 all the way to 2015. It was so difficult, right? Like throwing the down payment plus renovation, you can't pull things back after the renovation. It only happened in the past,
So it wasn't working then.
it wasn't
It
working.
wasn't
that
really working until things were going up constantly,
exactly,
right?
because the appreciation was so small,
The
right?
appreciation would save you, though, like say after 2016. 2016 and onward, the appreciation was kind of like saving
Crazy.
everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So don't just use one strategy to for your entire portfolio. And I think another thing is I always look for a scaling point. If one thing's taking a little too much effort, you're not doing it right. Right. I always question myself, am I doing this correctly? Because it just feels like there's too much friction, right? Like look for different help, reassess your strategy, reassess your portfolio, and see if there's anything that you can optimize. There has to be something that will, because the way that I view business is that falling into the right sequence will make everything super effortless, right? If it's not in the right sequence, you're gonna have the cash flow problem. You're gonna have the gap in knowledge and all that stuff. So always look for your scaling point. And the last thing is, sorry.
So just to clarify, so the right sequence, how do you mean? The right sequence of...
For example, just doing this. Without property management, it wouldn't make sense for me to start a sales team.
Okay.
Right?
So the sequence of growth. Okay.
Sequence of growth, right? Everything, I think any successful businessman, they definitely do something correctly in terms of the sequence.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
That makes sense.
I think business is very sequential.
So you're beginning with the end in mind as well here.
Yeah.
Like, what's my grand picture? Okay, these are the pieces that fit in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
And the third thing for a lot of real estate investors is that cash flow, number one, is not passive as well as we thought it could be. And number two is I figure out how you're going to capitalize from like in your business model, because people were talking about 50-50 structure. I heard that a lot of people doing that, 6, 7, 8 properties, they still have a full-time job because they haven't figured out a way to capitalize and replace their income. I think lack of income in real estate investing is something that we should definitely talk a little bit more.
Yes, a lot of people are abandoning the short-term money. Like they want to have the big portfolio, they want to quit their job, but they don't have a plan for that short-term income. That's pretty common. Yeah. I mean, well,
probably 80-90% of people.
Yeah, they just want the big portfolio, which hey, I'm guilty of too. Like I'm not really motivated by the short-term. Like the short-term is just covering basic needs. Like I'm interested in the long-term wealth.
For sure.
But I also like, of course, being able to afford things and not being, required to go to a job. So, best to work towards those things and keep them working well.
Yeah.
Very, very valid point. And I see it all the time. I see a lot of people in such a hurry to quit their jobs. There's a time and place, but I think a lot of people are too eager to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's more about structuring your life so that you don't get stressed out in 6 months, so you don't burn out from the stress in 6 months because of something you did to your lifestyle, like how you set yourself up.
Yeah.
For me, I know I need to have a good buffer of just cash available to me to just be able to sleep at night. I know I'm good. Like, so I do that. And others might say that that's inefficient because I could be having that cash working on investments or whatever. I don't care.
No, that's a mental stress.
That's for my mental health. Like that's it. So. Yeah, you probably have your own things that you do
tons,
too. Yeah,
tons. Yeah, that's why I always look at cash reserve. It has to be at a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't do that, all monetization needs to be a little heavier on certain things.
Yeah.
Right. Bring that up first, and then we'll talk about long-term investing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So focus on the short term first, get that working, then get back into the long term. Yeah. That's a good sequence. To your point, that's the sequence that you need to have. Awesome. So where do people learn more about you?
I think the easiest way is our YouTube channel, Property Hustlers. That's number one. And you can also DM me on my Instagram. So ping_real estate.
Ping_real estate. Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for doing this. It was a great conversation. And I'm really glad that I got a chance to meet you guys. And it took us way too long, but
I know we've been very shy, just so you know. Like we've been we don't feel good about being on social media. It took us a long time to overcome that discomfort.
Yeah, I don't either. Like people who follow me know, like I'm not really that great with my socials because I really don't like it. Right. Like I love connecting with people. I just I don't know. I would post pictures of my son, but I also don't want to do too much of that. And I don't know. I'm more actually kind of a private guy, so it's weird having this podcast, but I almost forget the camera's running and like we're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
Save for the few cues in the outro. So anyways, appreciate you doing this, and let's stay in touch.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Here's how infinite banking works in under 60 seconds. You have to save your money somewhere. Well, we think the best place to save it is inside a cash value life insurance policy. You save some money in there, it grows tax-free for the rest of your life. Then an opportunity or emergency comes along. Let's say a few years down the road, you can buy a business, buy a property, buy an income-producing asset. You leverage the infinite banking policy, borrow against your asset, take advantage of the opportunity. But your money still stays in the infinite banking policy. You're not borrowing your money, you're borrowing the insurance company's money. So your money's in the policy, it's in the opportunity, and it's providing a death benefit. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. You get to retirement and you have this massive cash value life insurance, leverage that tax-free, and you don't repay those loans. You sit on the beach and you spend that money tax-free every month. Doesn't show up on a tax return, and you leave your family a huge tax-free death benefit.
Hey friends, I'm sure you've been noticing that cash flow is getting a bit tougher with these higher interest rates. This is why I've noticed a lot of investors shifting over to a more passive approach and also to optimize their overall returns. Tune into my passive real estate investing webinar that I'm hosting on November 8th, 2023 at 7 p.m., where I'll have special guests Carmen Campanero and Nick Wright talking about what private equity is, how you can invest in it, what private REITs are, and how you can even have your TFSAs and RRSPs invested in real estate where it would otherwise not be possible. Space is limited to this webinar, so please take a moment now and register your attendance at www.andrew-hines.com/webinar, or go ahead and use the link in the show notes of this episode. I'll look forward to seeing you there.